Welcome to r/JustNoHOA, where people tell stories about their crazy homeowner associations. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. That time I sent the HOA a violation letter. Date back to 2017, there's no way my HOA would have known, but from December 2016 until March 2017 I got divorced, my dad had a heart attack, while he was getting a stent put in, my mom was in the ER with a gastric ulcer and died 10 weeks later, and my 18-year-old dog died the day after my divorce mediation. This was my falling down moment. The HOA sent me a violation letter in March 17 for not having enough mulch in my front yard flower beds. It was not that I was missing mulch, I just did not have enough. However, the front entrance to the subdivision, beds along the community walls, about a mile long, common areas, gatehouse and clubhouse areas, etc., which the HOA maintains, were missing mulch. This is a large gated community in South Florida where the entrances are big. It was an eyesore considering we pay $425 per month in HOA dues. They had budget issues and were behind in that upkeep, but they thought they could ding a homeowner for the same thing. I created a violation letter with the same font, logo, style and used the exact same wording used in my violation letter and sent it back to the property management company with my information changed to their name/address. I added 10 more bags of mulch to my yard and waited. I went to the HOA meeting the next month and they brought up my letter. I had to bite my cheek to keep from laughing as these bullies got riled up over it. By next month, they hired a company to mulch the subdivision. So essentially, this guy beat the HOA with their own tools. And is it just me, or does $425 seem a lot to pay in HOA dues? I mean, in many parts of the world, $425 would be the cost for rent of a decent sized apartment per month. So in my opinion, that is quite a lot considering that you are a homeowner. But anyway, let's continue. And the next one, HOA places lien on lady's house instead of knocking on her door and talking to her. Our friend was on our HOA board and told us this story. Here's the situation that happened to a household part of our HOA. Older couple, husband passed away and he always handled all the bills. Older lady, widow, got behind on her payments, probably because she did not realize she owed them. Our friend on the board suggested that someone go talk to her and she probably would have written a check on the spot for her dues. The board, gentleman's club it seems, said that that's not the way they operate and they instead place a lien on her house. She had to get a lawyer to get it paid off and sorted out. Housing development is quite small and any board member, our friend offered, could have easily sorted it out by dropping the house with 10 minutes of their time. But they prefer to take the hard and honestly mean route. Our friend resigned from the board after this and many other issues. FHOA. Props to the friend at least for resigning from the board after witnessing what stunts his colleagues are pulling there. But either way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you very much.
You cannot park there, I won't be safe.
This story is about a power-hungry HOA president, we will call her Helen. So a little background about my neighborhood. It's basically a long street with a cul-de-sac at the end. Helen lives in one of the 4 houses that encircle the cul-de-sac. So a few years ago, Helen proposed at our monthly HOA meeting that our street is too narrow for emergency vehicles like fire trucks or ambulances to fit through, and she's worried that they won't be able to reach the cul-de-sac houses in an emergency. Which is bullcrap. It's not a through road, so only residents of this small street ever need to use it. Sure, it can be a little tight at times, but 2-lane traffic moves comfortably. And it rarely ever needs to because it is a quiet neighborhood street with not much traffic. Fire trucks can and have been accessing the cul-de-sac since the beginning of time. But Helen was on a power trip and she wanted to have one side of the street curb painted yellow to restrict the parallel parking on the street. This move was heavily opposed because it would significantly limit street parking in our neighborhood. Plenty of people raised concerns that there would not be enough parking and this would affect the value of their homes. And since the street parking was first come first serve, it would create undue competition between neighbors in securing a parking spot on our street. But Helen pushed back, saying that safety was more important than being able to find a parking spot. She said there's always plenty of room to park on the cul-de-sac if need be. It should not be an issue. And after much deliberation, we put it to a vote and the motion did not pass. The highly unpopular curb painting would not be happening. Or so we thought. Helen went to the fire department a few days later and voiced her concerns. She told them the neighborhood residents had her support in painting the curb. And on a Monday afternoon, while everyone was at work, they painted the curb yellow. We all came back home that evening to find that our available parking options had been cut in half. One neighbor in particular was having none of it. You see, he owned a small boat which he typically kept parked on the street. But now that parking was significantly reduced, he decided he would find a better place for his boat. He waited for Helen to leave for work the next day and parked it right in front of her house on the cul-de-sac per her suggestion. The look on her face when she came home to find her usual parking space taken over by a boat was almost worth the whole ordeal. And since he rarely ever took his boat out, it stays parked there in front of her house pretty much year round. At the next HOA election, she was voted out. The next president got the curb painted back to normal, but boat guy still parks his boat in front of Helen's house. All is good in the world. That is what I would consider perfect revenge. But then again, I'm kinda curious about the name Helen, because for me, all Helens I've ever met so far have been pretty nice people. Or is Helen a name for you guys that you would usually associate with evil? Let me know in the comments. At least for me, I've never heard of any supervillains called Helen. I got my justice today. To set the stage, I just turned 30, I have a good job, spend my money wisely, save and invest. I grew up dirt poor and had nothing handed to me in life. Late 20s, the software company I had been at went public and I cashed out and moved back home to Florida. With nothing to do, I started investing in rental properties with a good friend of mine. This started about a year ago with the president of an HOA where I purchased 2 condos. This is a man in his late 60s, thinks he's the second coming of Jesus. From the get-go, he made comments about being young and buying houses, why my parents were not co-signing. Or must be nice to have a trust fund. Both properties had existing tenants, one still there, one left. My business model has been to completely remodel every property between tenants to get the maximum rental income. Construction was hell, literally everything was a problem. Dumpsters smelled, contractors leaving at 5:05 PM, being accused of not pulling permits, you name it. The HOA president tried to meddle his way in. I submitted 6 rental applications, all got denied. I was never given a reason, but the board was happy to cash my application fees. I got my company's attorney involved, it took 6 months and many wasted days in a courtroom, but we finally got the books. I had a family friend go through them and found some inconsistencies. I will save the long story, but many thousands of dollars and hundreds of wasted hours this idiot and his 2 crony board members were stealing from the bank account. He was writing fake invoices to his own company. My magician attorney was able to get text logs of them discussing blocking my apps, mainly they wanted me to dump the property so they could buy it. And now to the justice boner, we won a sizable judgment against him personally. The HOAs and E&O insurance subrogated him. And today he put his house up for sale, the house he had been living in for 30 years. To throw salt on the wound, I did put in an offer for 65% of what is asking, though I doubt I will get a response. The best part? We offered to settle for a fraction months ago, we even were willing to include a non-disclosure, the idiot told us to pound sand at every turn. So, Mr. HOA President, F you, I won. The stupid trust fund baby won and you lost. Sorry for the rant, none of my friends or family cares about it and all told me to just walk away. I figured you all may enjoy it. By the way guys, my apologies if I have read this story before. Some parts seemed familiar, but honestly I just went through all my older videos and I could not find this story. There was an issue with my browser history today, so I apologize for that. I just learned my coworker is one of those people. So we are sitting in the cafeteria having breakfast, just talking, and he brings up how his neighbors are being a pain and he took pictures for the HOA. This dude literally walked on everybody's property and took the most ridiculous pictures. No joke, he took pictures of a single weed sprouting up in a driveway. Halfway through this roll of 50 pictures, he starts complaining about people having trash cans in front of their houses. I ask him why it's a problem and he tells me he does not want to look at them and having the cans there will devalue his house. I tell him a simple fix is to just not look at them and mind his own damn business. Honestly, I was floored. This guy seemed like a decent dude, but after this I am just dumbfounded. Who the F complains about crap like that? He literally walked up onto people's porches to take pictures of some green mold on their railings. It looked like it had not been cleaned in maybe 2 months. I honestly cannot believe these people exist. Guys, did you ever have such a petty neighbor? Let us know in the comments if you have ever met a person like that in real life. And the next story is gonna be from r/TIFU and is also concerned with HOAs. It is titled, "Today I ducked up by getting drunk and going on a walk, scared the neighbors, almost went to jail and now being harassed by our HOA. Happened last night. I had a long day of doing nothing and was drunk all day. I started at about 3 PM and had maybe 15 rum and cokes in me by 10 PM. Some were doubles, I did not eat either. I have a tendency to wander around while drunk and I thought it'd be a good idea to go on a walk in my near blackout state. It was dark out too, so I got my shoes on and started stumbling down the street. A few minutes into my walk I noticed somebody was behind me, but I ignored it. I went down a side street, then another one, taking an odd pattern to confirm that I was in fact being followed. My inner paranoia kicked in and I started getting nervous. I thought about which direction to run in, that I had my car keys on me as a weapon of an altercation occluded, that sort of stuff. I ultimately turned around and yelled, "You're pissing me off! Stop following me!" The girl got scared, screamed and took off running. Thinking it was over, I continued my walk. Roughly 5 minutes later, a police car pulled up alongside me and the officer got out. He told me to take a seat in the curb and asked me some general questions. Where are you going? Do you live in this neighborhood? All that stuff. He said he got a call about an intoxicated male threatening people. I explained that a girl was following me for some time and I confronted her about it. He kinda rolled his eyes and then drove me home. He said to sleep it off and if he got another call I would be going to jail for public intoxication. 2 days later, I got a phone call from the girl's dad about it and turns out he is the president of our HOA and has now cited me for 3 things wrong with my property. I will have to fix them or be fined. Well, I cannot say that in this case the HOA president is a bad person. It seems a bit weird if you're already getting drunk at 3 PM and then black out at 10 PM. Today I ducked up by not paying my HOA dues. Very recently started working again. We owed about $2,000 in condo fees / HOA dues. HOA had us served for court. Court date was last month. I started working a new job the week before, so I did not go to the court, figuring the judge would default judge for the plaintiff, which is the HOA, and my new wages would get garnished as has happened to me with creditors in the past. Instead, the HOA lawyer requested a continuance and that the judge issue a capias warrant. I did not know any of this, and in case you don't know what that is, from what I understood, this is a warrant that is issued when someone needs to be detained to ensure that they make a scheduled court appearance. Anyway, worked all day yesterday and was exhausted when I got home. Went to bed at 9:30 PM, but 10 minutes later someone was pounding on the door like they were the cops or something. They were the cops, scared the wife, kids and dogs pretty bad. They would not / could not tell me why they were arresting me, but took me out of my house in handcuffs and to jail. When I got to jail, after a bit in the holding cell, one of the arresting officers and a 55-year-old-ish officer took me to a little room. I asked why I was there and they could not believe that I would have no idea. I said that the only legal trouble, besides a paid-for speeding ticket last year, was my HOA trying to get a judgment on me for unpaid HOA dues. They said that could not be it. A few minutes later, the magistrate's office sends over a fax saying that the warrant was issued on behalf of my HOA lawyer's request. The cops were surprised as they had never arrested anyone for civil cases involving overdue bills. I talked to the magistrate over a Skype-type interface, was given a court date for the charge of failure to appear and another court date for the unpaid HOA dues. I was then released 25 miles from home at night. Update, so I may have been wrong, but the cops came again to arrest me again about 20 minutes ago. I was able to convince them that they had already arrested me last week. Thank God the paperwork was at arm's length. Imagine you're at home with your family and then the police knocks on your door and arrests you for not paying some small HOA fines. Almost unbelievable. And the last one is from r/RipeStories, posted by user MiniMaidenAlley and is titled "My Neighbors from Hell Double Hockey Sticks." I remembered this when watching the most recent JustNoHOA video. We don't live in an HOA, but a very small town in PA, Pennsylvania for those who don't live in the US. There's a story and then the petty things they did/do. This all happened in 2019. They were not always neighbors from hell. They were once friends with my dad until my dad bought the rundown house next door. My dad is going to knock it down sometime in 2020 after getting the proper paperwork and put up a fence so the kids have a place to play in the summer. On to the story, the neighbors put up security cameras. One filmed in our dining room window and the other one filming in the window of our downstairs bathroom window. According to the cop in the town, all totally legal because cameras are on their property, which sounds like BS, but I don't know. My uncle told the cop to do something about the cameras or he would. The cop asked if my uncle was threatening the neighbor. I will never forget my uncle reply, "Nope, I'm making a prediction." We were planning an all-out war against the cameras with the little laser pens. I mean, if we are pointing them out of our bathroom window, a bathroom the children use, what would he be able to do? We did not get a chance to, sadly. The one facing the bathroom was moved to face down the street. And now onto the part on how they got taken down for good. My mom is an Avon rep. Yes, MLM scam, but not the way she does it. If an Avon product BS, she will tell you. A lady in town ordered stuff and my mom was sick, so she messed up something and ended up giving her the wrong thing. The lady called, told my mom and brought it back and got the right thing. Within an hour or two, the cameras were gone. Onto the petty stuff they did/do. They called the cops on my mom for sitting on our porch smoking a cigarette. If you smoke in the house, you have to clean the wall and ceiling by hand. Nothing happened. If we are talking outside in our driveway, he will throw a hissy fit, fun way I say freaking out, screaming at us, recording us on his phone. In PA, you cannot record audio of someone without consent from both parties. I'm saving up for a good camera to be able to catch him doing this. So happy the cameras are gone, now to stop him from illegally recording us. Your neighbor is an absolute piece of work from what we can see here. I would definitely not want to be in your place, but yeah, it would be interesting to know if people can just point cameras at your house, especially your bathroom window, without really breaking the law. That would be seriously creepy. But anyway guys, unfortunately this has to be the last story for today. If you are a new viewer on my channel, please don't forget to subscribe because around 60% of my viewers are not subscribed. I would really appreciate if you could do that and I hope you have a fantastic day and I see you again tomorrow.